Abandoned by my family and labeled a snitch for exposing college bullies, I returned home as the knife guy after a fight gone wrong. You should leave, my relatives said, but my heart longed for freedom. Can I still find my way? Chapter I Introduction Edited Version. I am just a village boy. I am 15 years old. When I was in ninth grade, I noticed how different the other kids were. During vacations, they would go to the city, walk around, relax, and post it all on Instagram. Meanwhile, I was herding livestock and doing household chores. I wanted to live like them. However, my family did not have the means to give me money to go out. To be honest, I was ashamed to ask for money. Ever since I was little, saying, "Give me money," felt like a kind of dishonor to me, so I mostly kept quiet, only dreaming inside. Then in ninth grade, I made a decision. I would go to college and study in the city. I thought, if I go to college, I will get a scholarship, I will have money, I will live in the city, and I will have freedom. I wanted to experience life with other kids. But when I told my family about this idea, they disagreed. If you study in the city, you will get spoiled, you will get into trouble, they said. At that time, I decided to enroll in a college not too far from the village and later transfer to the city, but I did not tell my family about this plan. They allowed me to go to the nearby college. However, my older brother was against it. "No decent kids go to that college," he said. I replied, "All colleges are the same, all kids are the same." But he would not change his mind. After receiving my ninth grade diploma, I started gathering the necessary documents for enrollment. My family did not help me at all. I did everything myself. I submitted the documents. At that time, my brother became really angry. "You are being stubborn. This isn't a place for studying," he said. But it did not matter to me. I wanted to start living the way I desired. People in the village kept asking, "Which college did you get into?" But I was too embarrassed to answer. Deep down, I knew that most of the kids there were troubled, many without parents. August came. There was only 1 month left before classes started. One day, my classmate and I decided to ride a motorcycle to the city and back. However, on the way, the police stopped us. It turns out we had crossed into another region's border. They sent us back to the village and handed us over to the local officer. I was furious. After that incident, my brother withdrew my college documents. If he goes to study, he will just cause more trouble, he decided. And just like that, everything fell apart. I, who had been saying I am enrolled, was back in school. On September 1st, when I went to school, everyone asked, "You are back." On September 3rd, I was sitting at a school desk again, but I felt like an outsider. Then I told my mother I do not want to study at school. Finally, she and I reapplied to the same college. From that day on, my personal life, my real path began. Chapter II The moment I entered college. September 4, 2024. My first day at college. My heart was full of hope and I was in high spirits. I spoke directly to the college director and immediately settled into the dormitory, which was located within the college. A few days later, I began getting to know the other students. Most were from nearby, but many had enrolled not by their own choice but because their parents wanted them to. I was the only one who had come there by my own decision. The first week was great, just as I had hoped. The scholarship came in not much, but it felt like freedom, like I had my own money. However, I soon became acquainted with the concept of the system. The local kids, those from the area, told me, "If you want to study here, you will have to give us part of your scholarship every month." I pretended to agree, but in reality, I did not want to. I knew that if I resisted, they would break me. One day, I could not take it anymore. I went to the director and told him everything. "These kids are extorting money from me," I explained. He resolved the issue, but the most important thing for me was not to be labeled a problem student. My plan was to transfer to a city college the following semester. If another issue arose, I feared I would not be able to leave. Days passed, the scholarship kept coming for 3574 tenge. I sent half home and kept the other half for myself. However, the dormitory conditions were challenging. No food, cold, uncomfortable. I did not tell my family. I did not want them to worry. In November, I caught a severe cold. At the hospital, they diagnosed me with bronchitis. The doctor gave me a 2-week sick leave. I returned to the village to recover. During that time, I told my mother, after this semester, I want to transfer to the city. I had already spoken to the city college. I informed her that I had been quiet, caused no trouble, and they did not object this time. "If you want to transfer, it is your decision," they said. "If you can save up from your scholarship, handle it yourself." That was when I decided I was leaving. In December, I returned to college. By then, 2 new students had transferred in. They had been expelled from their previous school for causing trouble. At first, they seemed normal, but that very night, they started a fight in the dormitory, challenging the system. Later, they tried to drag me into it. At that moment, I thought, even if I get beaten, I will not betray myself. Standing up to 2 people was intimidating, but one of my friends pulled me away. I am grateful for that. The incident reached the director and the 2 students were expelled. The director called me in and praised me. You stood strong, you did not betray yourself, you did the right thing. At that moment I told him after this semester I want to transfer to the city. He agreed but asked, we are short on students, why not stay here? I did not provide a real reason. Inside there was only one, I was ashamed to tell people in the village where I was studying. December was the hardest month for me. Both the teachers and the local kids tried to make me stay. Some applied psychological pressure while others resorted to physical intimidation. They watched my every move, looking for any excuse to tarnish my reputation so that no other college would accept me. They did everything possible to break me. I could not take it anymore. I exposed myself, I told everything, I became a snitch, a red. I went all the way to the Ministry of Education, telling them about the pressure, bullying, and harassment from the teachers. Only because of that was I able to transfer to the city college. However, the labels snitch and traitor stuck. They forgot what they had done to me, the pressure they had put on me, but I remember. That is why I am aware that I did not betray myself, I defended myself. Chapter III, The New Life in the City and Its Reality. January 13, 2024. The day I transferred to the city college. My emotions were chaotic. On one hand, relief. It felt as though I had escaped the pressure, the environment that had worn me down. On the other, uncertainty. What awaited me, would it be the same? At first, I wanted to stay in the public dormitory. However, what I saw there immediately discouraged me. Teenagers from orphanages, disorder, hatred, life's burdens already heavy on their shoulders. The air reeked of tension. My heart sank. No, I will not find peace here, I thought. I was afraid of getting dragged into something negative. Therefore, I moved in with my cousin and his wife. At first, everything seemed fine. I helped as much as I could, babysitting, doing chores, but as days passed, they grew more distant toward me. Without speaking it outright, their gestures made it clear, you should leave. They restricted me, do not go anywhere, watch the kids. And every night they fought, heavy words, insults, sometimes even throwing things. The household was chaotic. I often asked myself, do people get married just to live like this? Where is the love? Where is the understanding? I felt like an outsider in that house. I wanted to help, but nothing seemed effective. Money was tight as well. I had lost my scholarship. The teachers from my old college had deliberately given me bad grades out of spite. I only found out after arriving at the new college. Nevertheless, I resolved to move to the dormitory. I did not want to depend on anyone. No one called me a freeloader, but I could see it in their eyes. I tried to earn money working on weekends, but it was insufficient. That was when I realized, in this life, especially in a big city, you cannot trust anyone. Your only hope is yourself. When I was about to leave, I had a significant argument with my relatives. Everything I had bottled up inside came pouring out. I fought back. They did not remain silent either. The situation escalated into a physical confrontation. After moving to the dormitory, the challenges continued. My roommate and I got into a dispute. He provoked me, hurling insults. I could not handle it. I felt weak, alone, and defenseless. Out of anger, fear, and helplessness, I grabbed a knife and injured his arm. He managed to block it, otherwise things could have been much worse. I will never take pride in this. It was my biggest mistake. I wanted to defend myself, but I chose the wrong way. The incident spread quickly. The college expelled me. Now I am back in the village in 10th grade. Everyone mocks me, calling me the knife guy. But no one knows my inner world. No one truly tries to understand me. They only judge superficially. I hold no grudge against those who wronged me. I forgive them all, because I made mistakes too. I must have hurt someone as well. Thanks to everyone, those who attempted to break me, those who ignored me. This is my life. I do not want to give advice or guide anyone. Everyone knows how they should live. I just wanted to tell the truth, from the heart, even if it is bitter. Epilogue, the me of today. In these 6 months, I have seen a lot, truly. Before, I was just a quiet kid lost in my own world, harming no one. I never wished harm on anyone, I just lived my life. I am still the same, but one thing has changed. I have realized I can stand up for myself. When life corners you and places unbearable pressure upon you, you ask yourself, who am I? The answer is not yet clear, but I am searching. Can I say I have learned from this journey? I do not know. Because sometimes to learn from something you have to regret it, to vow never to do it again. But I am just living. I do not want to get married, I do not want to study. Do I have dreams? I cannot say. Right now I feel indifferent toward myself and life. Before, I thought money solved everything. If you have money, everything will work out. However, life showed me a different truth. Whether you have money or not, what matters is who you are, what you feel, and what you have been through. Sometimes money cannot heal the wounds in your heart. Instead, it distances you from people. Have I figured out what is important in life? No, but one thing is clear, if I had, I would not be struggling. Maybe life is just a series of passing moments. Perhaps the question is not who do I want to be, but rather who do I refuse to become. Now I am just living, without plans, without dreams. But there is one hope, a light still burns inside me. I try not to let it die, because that is the only proof that I am still here. Story 2. Divorcing my husband of nearly 4 years feels impossible as I still love him, but every hug and longing for connection reminds me I can't keep sacrificing and I deserve more. How do I stay firm in my decision while living together? Summary. On Sunday, I informed my husband of nearly 4 years, and with whom I have been together for almost 11, that I want a divorce. However, I find myself desiring to embrace him, hold him close, and express my love for him. To keep the background brief, I have been in this nearly 11-year relationship, so feel free to skip it if it seems too long. I apologize if this is disorganized. I am feeling overwhelmed. My husband was not a bad person, but he has been very immature and inconsiderate for many years. He has struggled with depression and other issues that he needed to address. He fell into depression after being an athlete, but due to a problem with the system, he lost his position on the team when he had been selected to compete in some fairly significant competitions. He was humiliated when asked to return everything he had received from the team and to pay back the scholarship, which at that time he could not afford. The university recognized and corrected this error, but by then it was too late for him to participate in competitions. After this happened, he descended into a profound depression and bitterness that lingered for over a decade. For many years, he was extremely unhappy about what he lacked, yet he never took any steps to improve his life. He dropped out of university and worked part-time on and off. I met him after the situation with the team. At that time, I could see the pain he was experiencing and felt compassion for him. He had dedicated his life to becoming an athlete since childhood, and the greatest opportunity he had was unfairly snatched away from him. Consequently, I assumed all the financial, mental, and emotional burdens of our relationship. I worked full-time and made numerous sacrifices. I refrained from purchasing anything I liked or wanted, only acquiring what was essential. However, I did buy gifts for him occasionally to brighten his spirits. I did everything I could to save in hopes of someday buying a house while trying to provide enough for his happiness. Meanwhile, whenever he secured a part-time job, he would spend all his money on dining out. I understand that this was his method of self-comforting, but it became problematic. I approached him about his spending habits as gently as possible, though there were times I became frustrated. Simultaneously, I carried all of his emotional burdens. He was always sorrowful and miserable, frequently lamenting on what could have been, comparing himself to others, and failing to appreciate what I contributed. He also required constant praise and reassurance, even for basic tasks. If he cooked, he expected me to inquire about how good it was, asking multiple times. If he completed a load of laundry, he would repeat it to me consistently until I expressed my gratitude, even though he never thanked me for doing that or any other necessary chores. I consistently prioritized his emotions and happiness, striving to help him heal and discover peace. However, for years he remained anguished, which made me profoundly unhappy and depressed. After many years, he finally sought therapy, but during a recent argument, he admitted he had not been taking it seriously. Now he cannot afford it and he does not have health insurance. He has also always been very inconsiderate of me. This inconsideration spans all aspects of our life, but here are some examples. 1. Even when I worked 2 jobs while he was unemployed, due to a mental breakdown when he finally secured a full-time job as a teacher. He still did not help with household chores except for cooking. 2. He never plans or organizes anything. I must manage every task. Even when I leave 90% of tasks prepared, he will still call and ask me to verify them. This has improved slightly recently. 3. He has never arranged a date for us. I am the one who organizes our outings and makes plans, yet when he does initiate something, it always requires me to make the decisions and find the options. 4. After our baby was born, he helped significantly more around the house, but he never woke up when she did. For months, I was solely responsible for those late-night awakenings. I requested more help from him, but nothing changed until a few months ago when I broke down from exhaustion. 5. He never took photographs of our baby and me or engaged in experiences with her that I wanted to be part of, such as lighting the Christmas tree for the first time without me. I consistently addressed these matters with him, communicating clearly about my feelings and what I needed from him. I do not subscribe to the notion of you should know what's wrong. I express it directly. This brings us to another significant issue in our relationship. Every single time we discuss matters or argue, he either withdraws into silence, ignores or dismisses what I have said, and pretends the conversation never happened, or he makes it about himself. How scared he is of messing up again and losing me. It is always centered around his emotions. Later on, he behaves as though the conversation never occurred. There are several other impactful issues we have faced, but detailing them would be too lengthy. We have had multiple discussions and arguments about his lack of action and his attitude toward our relationship over the years. I have always been completely forthright and transparent about my feelings, how he affects my emotions, and the necessity for him to take an active role in our relationship. We attempted couples counseling for a brief period due to cost constraints, and he did come to the realization to some extent that he has predominantly focused on himself. Despite all this, I still love him, but I have not truly been in love with him for years. I have gone through extended periods where I desired to leave him, feeling resentment and even hatred toward him at times. I have felt incredibly alone and miserable. It has made me question my worth after all my sacrifices if he remains unhappy and does not put in more effort for our relationship. I stayed, hoping he would improve. I even had a child with him who is now a year old. I recognize that it was a questionable decision given all that has been previously described, but I wanted to start a family before it was too late. I do not regret having my baby, though. I have reached a point where I possess only the kind of love one has for someone with whom they have shared a significant portion of their life, someone who has been everything to me. It may seem strange, but he has also often been my closest friend. However, I no longer perceive him as my husband. At times, I do not even see him as a man. Now, regarding my dilemma, on Saturday I informed him that I want a divorce. Nothing specific triggered this decision. There was no argument or major incident. I have contemplated leaving him for years, but I kept holding on. I simply cannot continue this way. We cried, embraced, and argued. He believes he can do better, but I am exhausted by his empty promises. Given our situation, we cannot separate immediately. His income contributes to half of the mortgage. The mortgage is in my name since I am the only one who paid the deposit and all closing costs. I cover the remaining half and all additional expenses from food to other utilities and bills. We live paycheck to paycheck, so losing his financial contribution would pose a significant challenge. He cannot even afford to rent on his salary, let alone cover half of the mortgage concurrently. Therefore, we will be living together for the foreseeable future. Yesterday, neither of us went to work. All day, I yearned to hold him and be held in return. While I have not cut off our intimacy or physical contact, I did not truly enjoy it and often felt irritated by it. Now, all I desire is to be close to him. I keep craving to refer to him as my love and to kiss and hug him. I own the house, and given the current housing market, I cannot sell it for a lesser price since mine is old and worn. The cost of renting is triple that of the mortgage. My mother lives too far from my job for me to move in with her. My husband shares my vehicle since his broke down, and his family lives even farther away than mine. However, he is studying and is in his final year, so he needs to stay near his university. Moving would mean he would lose whatever he earns on his job due to transportation costs to the university if he stayed with his family. His entire paycheck could not cover rent, much less assist with the house. Consequently, we will be living together for an extended period. He is expected to graduate in December and has been searching for a better-paying job. How do I prevent myself from reversing my decision to divorce him? Despite his numerous shortcomings, he has been my dear friend. We could talk for hours, share laughter, and create stories together. He has accepted my spirituality without issue, my peculiarities stemming from diagnosed but untreated ADHD, and has been my closest person for so long. I acknowledge that I deserve better and I desire better. I understand that this is a cycle that will not improve. However, it is tearing me apart. I will see him every day. We will have to live together until he finds a significantly higher paying job. We share one car as his is broken down and he obviously cannot afford a new one. If anyone has advice on how to help me remain committed to my decision to divorce him, I truly need it. Now that he has left the house, I cannot stop crying. I continually feel the urge to call and tell him that I love him. Story 3. I wrote a letter to my future self while facing my 6th chemotherapy session, pouring out my heart. Why do I feel so alone when loved ones are near? I felt lost in despair, battling my demons and craving connection. Can I truly turn my pain into purpose? I want to share this letter that I sent to my present self 3 months ago. This is my first Reddit post, and I am eager to hear your thoughts about the letter. Please keep in mind that I wrote this just before Christmas, and I was feeling extremely exhausted and worn out because of the harsh chemotherapy treatment I had undergone. Therefore, it is completely raw and comes deeply from my heart. I omitted some very personal parts, but it essentially contains everything. I did not perform any other editing, and English is not my first language, so please bear with me. I genuinely want to know what people think of this, so I would appreciate your thoughts and feelings. Dear future me, are things going wrong? Why do we experience depression with an overwhelming sense of loneliness, when all I could do was reach out to my friends and the people who cared about me? I wonder why all that pain has to fall on me when it could have been easily avoided. What was the purpose? What was I thinking? It was so profound that I could not find a way out. It was always about yourself. What did you think when you were always by yourself? What did you think when you walked alone? What did you think when you were drifting further from your dreams and lost in despair? It was so intense, I had lost myself in that place. A part of me was lost there. I am trying to make sense of the entire mindset. You wanted to reach out. You wanted to reach out, but you couldn't. You were at the bottom, the deepest part of the ocean. But you still tried your best. You did. You were a romantic, a passionate person. You always sought to understand the things around you. Yet, it was incredibly difficult to sense your surroundings when you were so caught up in your struggles that you could not see an inch ahead. You have been cleansed of everything. I feel that way. But I will keep searching. I will continue to seek more questions to discover more about myself, particularly during those times when I completely lost my sense of self. It was an agony I suffered endlessly. Perhaps I still do, perhaps I do not. I just want to know if it was worth it to lose myself in eternal oblivion. I know it was deeper than that. I felt myself crumble with everything I had known and built within myself. The persona I had was merely a cheap imitation of a dream I had been longing for a long time. My eyes were weary of perceiving the world and my surroundings as they were. My mind was always elsewhere. Despite hoping for change, I did not truly believe it would come. I could not save myself from a dull routine and the spiral of identity crisis. It is almost comical how deeply we go through things, and can only make sense of them after we have moved past them. Let that sink in for a moment. I want to understand how to see the things that are right in front of our eyes. I want to perceive the world in a completely different way. I know what I need to do to achieve that. Dear God, let me be worthy. I want to know more, I want to understand more about life. I may not be wise, but I am curious. Have I ever managed to escape depression? Reflecting on previous years, I ask myself if I was ever truly happy. No, I grew up with fear, insecurity, and the feeling of not belonging among the people around me. I raised myself. I lost myself and then found myself again. The process is slow because it has always been a matter of trial and error, as I had no idea what I was doing. I lacked experience, knowledge, wisdom, and any clue on how to navigate my dreams. I have always been the most reserved about them. Even now, no one knows the true extent of my dreams. It has always been difficult because I was too stubborn to take any steps without support. Honestly, it is not as if I had much of a choice. I have always lacked that one wise person in my life to guide me. No parents, no teachers, nothing. I am not even slightly surprised that I got lost in the addiction of cigarettes. It was almost inevitable. And I ask myself, was it worth it? Yes. Yes, it was worth it. I am exhausted. I have never been this tired. Now that I have been cleansed of all the dirt that stuck to me, I must start from scratch to rebuild myself. I have to crawl, then walk, then run, and finally fly. I possess nothing. I do not own a thing about myself. In fact, it is more like I am not even here. The suffering is becoming unbearable. The hunger and the endless pain of feeling destroyed and torn apart are overwhelming. Every cell in my body is no longer the same, and I can only hope that things will get better. The idea of not feeling like yourself anymore is frightening in its own right. Navigating through this is challenging. It requires courage to stand where I am now. My sense of self has shifted significantly, and it is only thanks to God. However, the idea of no longer being yourself and transforming into someone entirely different brings both opportunities and challenges. The opportunities I am being given are something I will forever be grateful for. I will do everything I can to honor these opportunities. Perhaps I am fortunate to have gotten lost and then found myself again, because despite everything, I have managed to stay with myself. We navigated through the darkness and lonely forests together. Honestly, I have never encountered anything scarier than that. I can see why I am strong. I am proud of that. I feel lost. I apologize if this does not make sense. Today is December 24th, only a few days before my last chemotherapy session. I am scared as always. I am tired and struggling, yet I genuinely try to remain positive. I simply wish I could celebrate Christmas in a different way than being in the hospital. It truly upsets me. The hunger is the hardest part of it all, I suppose. I weigh 42 kilograms. Even at home, everything tastes terrible. These days are bad days. This time is difficult. But fear not, the dawn will be bright once again. The good days are just a few miles away, waiting for us to reach them. I constantly envision those days. My dreams fill my mind as if they are my lifeline. I have imagined countless times how I will meet my friends for the first time after 6 months. I envisioned how I would feel. I pictured it going. I imagined myself crying in their arms, appreciating their presence, acknowledging their role in my life, and valuing the connection and support they provide. God imparted the greatest lesson of empathy to me. When I believed I would not feel sadness if I lost my friends, He showed me how much I would grieve if I lost them while getting lost in myself. God bestowed upon me the greatest gift of empathy. He taught me that I was mistaken to think I had nothing to lose. I had everything to lose. I have everything to lose. I cannot die. I used to suffer from suicidal thoughts and tendencies daily. I often thought, this is not going to work out. I am too quick to delete, too quick to end relationships, too quick to sever valuable connections, and too quick to destroy myself. I do not know precisely why I am like this. I know it is due to my perfectionism, but I wonder if there is more to it. Nevertheless, that is not right. You cannot end things so hastily. First of all, you cannot do that. It is cruel. You must appreciate even the smallest things. You should love and cherish every small good. Please do not hasten to end things. There is no reason to give up. There is always hope. Appreciate life. Every single breath. Appreciate your mother. Appreciate your father. Appreciate your sisters. Appreciate your brothers. Appreciate your support. Appreciate your friends. Appreciate everyone in your life. Appreciate a stranger. Appreciate even a bad person. Appreciate yourself. You are doing okay, dear. You are doing well, my dears. You are doing amazing. You are thriving, look at you. You are glowing. You are awesome. You are beautiful and elegant. Perfectly graceful. You are passionate and fierce. Do not give up on a relationship. I love you and I know you will do even better. Gaze towards the future ahead with hope and optimism. Reflect on the past with patience and compassion. Approach the present with curiosity and determination. It is so important that you know, to be known, and learn more, because I believe that is what we will do for a living. Please be with God. And do not forget that it is essential to feel what you are feeling at that moment, whether it is joy or depression, hope or despair. It does not matter how sad, angry, anxious, or scared you are. Those emotions are valid and it is crucial to monitor and journal them. Please be gentle with yourself. Give yourself a pat on the back, a kiss on the knee, and maybe even a hug in front of the mirror. Do things that show you love yourself. Stay pure, my friend. Stay passionate. I am so tired, I hope you are not. Remember, you are everything I have dreamed of being. Please honor me in your work. I am you before the 6th chemotherapy session. Honor yourself. Story 4. My mother constantly cleans my room, claiming it for the cleaning ladies. After a forced bed rearrangement, I confronted her about promises broken and she laughed, saying, "What am I gonna do, call you at school?" I feel lost, loving her yet angry. Can we ever talk? Hello, I do not post on here often and I have had Reddit for a long time, but I do not really use it, so this is my first post. I apologize for the poor English. It is not my first language. My mother always cleans my room in the mornings when I am at school during the week, and we have a cleaning lady coming in on the weekends to clean the entire house. Another lady has started coming every 3 days to help clean and cook, so my mother has a lot of assistants. A few weeks ago, my mother mentioned that she wanted to rearrange my room. She expressed that she did not like its current layout because the bed makes it difficult to clean the floor since it is against the wall, not in the middle of the room, but in the corner. I understand her perspective because she has a condition in her knees and does not have much strength in her legs. Still, I was against the idea because I truly liked how my room looked, and after several changes she had made before, I finally felt that it was how I wanted it. She insisted that we had to change it because it was also difficult for the other 2 cleaning ladies, who are not very young either. I still refused, and we had a brief discussion but left it at that. A week ago, she reopened the topic, and I reiterated that I did not want to change it. She asked me to allow her to move the bed for a week, and if I still did not like it afterward, she would let me move it back against the wall. I accepted, but then we encountered some family problems and I got sick, so in the end, she did not move anything. I should add that I have been overwhelmed with homework and projects at school, so I really forgot about it during the week. Last Friday, however, she entered my room and jokingly, I think, told me she was going to ask my father to punish me for being a brat. We had previously had a small discussion about me not calling her when my dad picked me up from school to let her know I was okay. They are divorced, and I live with my mother full-time, but I can see my dad whenever I want, but she laughed and I laughed too. Her comment still bothered me, and I even later mentioned it to my dad, explaining the situation regarding my room. He told me that if she approached him about the bed situation, he would advise her to let me be because I am no longer a child. That made me feel a little better, but I was still somewhat worried because I know my mother. Well, yesterday I woke up and the first thing my mother said to me was to go to her bed because she was going to move mine. I was still very sleepy, so I complied, but I felt a slight sinking feeling in my stomach for some reason. She did, in fact, move the bed to the center of the room, and when I saw how it looked, I became angry. I admit that I was extremely annoyed and my behavior was not the best. Although I tried to remain silent, the tension remained. I did not offer to help her, and I know I was wrong for doing that. I cannot really justify that behavior. I have been and probably still am an immature brat sometimes. After a while, I checked on her and I finally said something like, I am glad you told me that I can move the bed again next weekend. To which she replied, we will see, it will be easier to clean the floor now. I was taken aback, but you literally promised. What do you mean we will see? I told her that I could move the bed for her on the weekends, of course, and that I could clean the floor. It did not go well. She told me that I could not only clean my room on the weekends, that she cleaned my room every day, and what am I going to do? Call you when you are at school and tell you to come and move the bed? That really angered me. I do not remember what I said to her, but I chose to remain silent in the end because the last few days had been full of tension between us. Then she informed me that she found spiderwebs behind my television. I was genuinely surprised. I had not noticed that because I typically clean the floor, my dresser, my closet, my bookshelves, my bedside table, my desk, and my bed. I never thought the TV needed to be cleaned, and I cannot reach it anyway because it is mounted on the wall. She then told me that she had finally cleaned my windows because the bed was not there to obstruct her anymore. And I interrupted her saying, I did not know that the TV had to be cleaned because I genuinely did not know. She responded, I am talking about the windows right now, and I replied, yes, but I am talking about the TV right now. I did not, and she interjected, see, that is what you do when you start losing an argument, you talk nonsense. I swear I was about to explode and then cry. But I did not, as it leads to nothing, and I simply told her okay and returned to her room. The entire morning, I felt like crying and I had a headache. When I took a shower, I could not help but try not to cry again and recall all the times I had felt the same way. We also had a small argument because now my charger cannot reach my bed and I have to stretch my arm if I want to use my phone while it charges. I was going through what felt like a silent breakdown. I was angry. When she gave me her charger, I said, but this is your charger, because I want to use my charger and have it with my bed against the wall. She scolded me and asked what my problem was. She then left with my brother, and my dad came to pick me up. I told him everything, and he said that he did not agree at all with what my mother had done, but he was unsure how to discuss it with her because for most of my life he has allowed her to make the important decisions, and he was somewhat afraid of making her feel attacked and causing a confrontation. Still, he said that he would try to talk to her, but reminded me that I am still a girl, and sometimes I have to just accept that my mother can be like that. I know my father is probably not going to do anything. He does not want to fight with my mother and always says she is a great mother, which I can agree with him on, even though she has her flaws. I went to lunch with my dad, we spent some time together, then we went to pick up my brother from his grandparents' house. He is not my full sibling, and then my dad left us at my house. Late at night, my mother and stepfather returned from a meeting with friends, and my stepfather came into my room and asked how I was. I told him I was not very happy about my bed, and he simply said it was better for me. I thought, what about me? But I did not feel compelled to respond. I used to be close with him when I was younger, but we have grown apart, maybe because I am older now, and also because he takes my mother's side almost all the time. I do not like his parenting methods with my brother. Then my mother walked in and I asked her why she did not say hello. She told me that she saw me not helping her clean my room in the morning. I admit that was true, but as I mentioned before, I was being immature and was really trying not to cry or explode. I did not speak much to her after that. Then she went to sleep and I stayed in my room. I am writing this at 1 a.m. I think, and I finally cried a little. I just wanted to share this with someone and maybe get some advice. I do not want to keep feeling this resentment. I want to hug my mother and tell her everything, yet I cannot. I sometimes hate her, yet I love her with my whole heart. Still, I have so much going on and it feels less significant compared to what everyone else is experiencing. I feel so irrational about my anger like a spoiled brat, but I cannot help it.